Hey everybody, welcome back to my channel. This is Jamie with Honey at the Hive. Today we're going to be doing a little different type of video. So I thought because we live in South Carolina, I have been homeschooling here for the last 7 years. I get asked the question often, what exactly do I have to do to homeschool in South Carolina? And so for all my South Carolina friends, I wanted to do a video specific for all the rules and regulations, all the record keeping that you have to do will be in this video, and I will try to link as many of the websites that I mentioned down below. If this is a video that will be helpful for you, just stick around and we'll get started. Okay, so in South Carolina, you have 3 options of how to go about homeschooling. Most of my information off the HSLDA .org website, so that is the Homeschool Legal Defense Association. You do not have to be a member of HSLDA to go to that website and look at all the information on what's required for each state. I highly suggest that you do that. Don't take my word for anything that you need to do, but always reference that website. I'll have that link down below as well. But they go through 3 different options that you have in South Carolina. I'm going to go ahead and preface up front that the 3rd option, so the last option that I will talk about at the end of this video, is the most popular option and the one that we have always gone with. So if the first 1 or 2 seems a little overwhelming, wait until I get to the 3rd. It'll ease your mind a little. So HSLDA lists each state in the United States as how difficult their regulations are. There's like no regulation states. There is high regulation states. Our South Carolina is considered moderate regulations, which may sound scary, but in the whole scheme of things, it's really an easy process once you get used to what exactly you have to do. So across the board, some things that are required no matter which option you take in South Carolina are the homeschooling age that you have to start recording or you have to start teaching is when your child turns age 5 by September 1st of that school year. The parent has to have at least a high school diploma or a GED. You must teach at least 180 days of the school year. So that starts in May, is the beginning of our school year here, to whenever you finish your 180 days, and then you don't start that 180 day count again until the following May. And then you have required subjects that you have to teach each grade. So for all grades, from a 5-year-old up through 12th grade, you have to teach reading, writing, math, social studies, and science. So that's 5 subjects for every single grade. Starting at grade 7, there are 2 additional subjects that have to be taught, and that is composition and literature. So no matter which option you take here, if you take option 1, 2, or 3, all of those requirements have to be met. So we are going to start with option 1. Option 1 is the least popular option for homeschoolers in South Carolina. Option 1, you are basically going still through the public school system, but to homeschool. Option 1, you have to get approval from your local school board, but there are ways that it cannot be denied if you meet these certain requirements. So those requirements are: you have to have a diploma or GED. You must provide instruction for at least 4.5 hours a day for 180 days a year. You have to teach all the required subjects. A parent must maintain portfolios, records of samples of the student's work, semi-annual progress reports. You will have to do individualized assessments on each child for each of those subjects. The student has to have access to their local libraries. The student must also participate in annual statewide standardized testing programs. And of course, the parent has to release any liability for the student's education from the school board. So going on to option 2 is enrolling in SCAIHS. So SCAIHS, SCAIHS, is the South Carolina Association of Independent Homeschools. They are a homeschool association, much like you will see in option 3, but this specific one, you have to follow what they require for your homeschooler. So you can find all that information at schomeschooling.com. I will link that down below. For them, you have to do standardized testing every other year, starting in 3rd grade. There are fees for basic memberships, which are pretty expensive. I believe when I looked, the basic membership for your first child is like $425. And then there's a great reduced price for any subsequent children. I think it's like $55 for your 2nd and 3rd child, and then 4th and above is maybe free. Don't quote me on that. Check out their website. And then there's also additional fees added on top of that for things like high schoolers and seniors graduating. With this option 2, the reason that it's more expensive is because there's a little bit more hand-holding. So they have representatives there that you can call and talk to. They give guidance on what curriculum that you should choose for your children. They do a lot of in-house record keeping, so when you need to do those annual reports, you can go through them. When you need your transcripts, those are found with them that they can print out for you and get those things for you. So it's a little bit more, if you're a new homeschooler, this might be a good option for you. It's just a little bit more guidance on what exactly is going to be your best route for your homeschooler, especially if you're new. And then option 3, which is the most popular, the one that we have always used, and gives a little bit more flexibility, is that you can enroll in any other homeschool association, but that association has to at least have 50 other families, and then you have to meet a certain few requirements. So there is on sc.edu, I believe, I'll check the website, I will put it down below. They have an entire list of homeschool associations, and there is plenty of them that you can choose from. These homeschool associations, unlike option 2 with SCAIHS, are much more inexpensive, but not as much hand-holding. So for us, for a family, it's like $25 for the homeschool association we use for the whole year for all of my children. And they expect you to follow the minimum requirements of the state. And I'll go through what those are. So again, you're still having to do the 180 days of school. You still have to have a high school diploma or a GED as the parent to teach. There is no requirement about the amount of time per day here. So where there was that 4.5 hours with option 1 that you have to do every day, there's no time requirement for option 3. I don't know if SCAIHS requires a time per day. You'll have to check with their website again, but option 3 definitely does not. You do still have to do those required subjects. So the 5 subjects, writing, reading, math, social studies, science for all grades, and then adding composition and literature for 7th through 12th. All those are still required. There is no requirement for what counts for that subject. So, for instance, if I have a 5-year-old that I am trying to teach science to, I can go through a science workbook with her. I can read her 1 page a day. I can watch Magic School Bus for a day. That can count as our science. There's nothing written down as far as what science or what any of the requirements are for how you teach those subjects, but you have to have something taught. The other thing that you have to do is record keeping. So this is where people get a little bit overwhelmed. With record keeping, you have to have a plan book. So for instance, I get the Simply Homeschool Planner from Mardell is where I believe it comes from. And every day it's listed out, and for each subject, I just write exactly what we did on that day for each subject. And that's all I have to do for my planner. It doesn't even say, so I have to teach those subjects. It doesn't say I have to teach all those subjects every single day. So if I want to do, for instance, if I want to do science, I can do science on Tuesdays and Thursdays. I can do social studies on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. I do not have to do science and social studies 5 days of the week. That's up to you as the parent. So just that plan book. In that plan book, you also have to keep an attendance record to show that your child has been schooled for 180 days that year. The other thing you have to keep is a portfolio of samples of your child's work. Again, there's no real hard and fast rules as to what that's supposed to look like, but something that I have always been told and I've always followed is that I want to show progress for each of my children. So I'm not keeping 12 years of huge math books, but I am keeping records through their math year of how they progressed in math to show that they are learning and continuing to grow and learn in that manner. And so you have to keep samples of each of your child's work. You have to do a semi-annual progress report. So a progress report at 90 days and then an end of the year progress report at 180 days. So those progress reports basically just say, these are the subjects we covered. This is how my child did, whether that's letter grades, whether that's number grades, whether that's satisfactory or unsatisfactory. Whatever you want to put on those progress reports, again, is up to the parent's discretion. But you have to keep a semi-annual and an end of year. So under option 3, again, you're keeping these records. You are a part of a homeschool association. You are not sending these records into the homeschool association. No one is keeping those records for you. You are keeping those for yourself. And then with most homeschool associations, at the end of the year, you sign off basically saying, I have kept all of these things and I still have them. For the sake of, let's say you get audited and the school board wants to see, or whoever wants to see how you've been homeschooling your child. That is not the responsibility of this option 3 homeschool association. It is the responsibility of you, the parent. So you keep that work. And then that is basically it. Option 3 gives a lot of flexibility. Option 3 is a little less expensive, but also a little less hand-holding. I don't believe that it is hard. I will show you some examples of kind of how I do that record keeping, what that looks like. I can also, again, leave some links below and show you where to find some of these things. Okay, so I wanted to kind of share how that record keeping might look for you. So I mentioned the Simple Plan Homeschool Planner from Mardell. This is something that I have used, and this is a really great resource, especially if you have, I would probably say 4 or 3 children and under. Once you get between 4 and 5, it gets a little hard to fit everything in here. And definitely under 7th grade. So there's not, I don't think, sufficient room when you add on those 2 extra subjects that you have to do, the composition and literature, to really add it in here. So I'll show you a little bit of what that looks like. I'm showing you some blank pages. So this is one of the pages here. And so what I do with this planner is down the side, you write down the subject that you're teaching. So math, reading, writing, science, social studies, and then you have one extra. So see, there's not 2 extras to add on here. It would be kind of hard once you get to that 7th grade level. But before then, this is plenty. And then what I've always done with my kids when I've had multiples in the same planner is given each kid a color. And so, for instance, my older might be purple and then the middle green. So in purple, and I would write that in the front of this book. In purple, I would write down what my oldest is doing for math here, and then her younger sister is doing right under here in her color. So I know if anybody comes to check this, whose assignments were whose. And so they have this for just week by week. And I think these start usually in July. Yep. And then they go through June. Also, in the back of these, they have your attendance keeper for each student. So they have the list of months here, and all you do is just check off, circle, highlight, whatever you want to do for each day that your child attended school. Another thing that I'd like to show you is just a little sample of the progress reports. So these progress reports look similar. This happens to be an example of a mid-year one, and this is from a homeschool association that's very commonly used. So it just looks like this. And so you have your student's name, the grade, how many days that you have schooled. So if this is the mid-year progress report, you have 90 out of 180 days. If it says in your end of year progress report, it's going to be 180 out of 180 days. And then all you're doing is listing the subject and the course name, and then giving your child some sort of grade. And then both of those look similar. And again, these are not things that you send in anywhere. These are things that you keep for yourself. I hope this video was helpful for you. If there is anything else that you are wondering about or you're curious about with homeschooling specifically in South Carolina, just leave that down in the comments. Again, always reference the HSLDA.org. That is a super helpful website. And then if you would just give this video a thumbs up, that would be super encouraging. If this is content that's interesting to you, just subscribe to our channel. We'd love to have you stick around and be a part of this family. And we hope that this channel continues to be a blessing to you and yours.